Now, before I get into this video talking about the film Turtles All the Way Down, I just want to take a moment to gush about the community behind the Vlogbrothers, Hank and John Green. Nerdfighteria. I myself have been a nerdfighter since 2008. I started watching their YouTube videos when I was a kid in middle school on my mom's crappy Toshiba laptop on the table in our kitchen. And I've been a massive fan of both John Green's books ever since I was younger. Looking for Alaska still stands as my all-time favorite book. And I have the vast majority of his books sitting right in the background of every single one of my YouTube videos. I also love Hank Green's books. I did videos on them. They're absolutely phenomenal. I could go on forever. I love their podcast. I love what they do with Partners in Health in Sierra Leone. I'm a big fan of AFC Wimbledon because of them. I have awesome socks because I want to support them in their efforts for Sierra Leone. I think that Pizza Miss and Project for Awesome are some of the best charity organizations and ways to raise money for good causes that I have seen. It is one of the best communities out there, and I am immensely proud to be a part of it. I have an entire video talking about how the Vlogbrothers have changed my life. If you want to know more, you can click on that and check that out. But I am here to talk about Turtles All the Way Down, the film adaptation of John Green's most recent fiction novel, Turtles All the Way Down. Now, Turtles All the Way Down follows our titular main character, Aza Holmes. Aza is in high school and best friends with her friend Daisy, a very eccentric young woman that likes to write Star Wars fanfiction. I just find that interesting, bringing that out into the public and making that kind of like a known thing. Very cool, very open as a fan of the media myself, not necessarily Star Wars. Aza Holmes struggles immensely with OCD, and that is portrayed in this movie in an absolutely remarkable fashion that kind of shows it in a way that we have never seen in a movie or television show before. As somebody that deals with OCD in their everyday life, I think that this is absolutely wonderfully done. I'll go into that more later. But this movie starts off on its surface seeming like a romance movie from the very beginning. Especially if you've seen any of the trailers for this, it is marketed almost purely as like a teen rom-com. But then it seems like a mystery is unfolding when Aza and Daisy see that there is a reward of $100,000 for a missing billionaire, and Aza realizes that she has ties to the son of missing billionaire when they went to a summer camp together as children. So they go and explore his property, trying to find any connection that they can, any hint of where he may have disappeared to, because they want that $100,000 for like college and other stuff, you know? But that is where Aza meets Davis and the romance kicks off. But that is pretty much kicked to the side right out the gate when Davis just gives her $100,000 out of a Pop-Tart box because $100,000 is no big deal to him and it's his dad's money anyway, and it's going to go to Tuataras. I know that makes no sense. I don't have time to explain the Tuatara thing. Watch the movie if you want to know. It's pretty interesting. It's more deeply explored in the book, though. But then as you get deeper into the movie, you realize that it's not truly about a romance. It's not even truly about a mystery. What it is truly about is the struggles of living with OCD and the difficulty that it puts and strains on friendships and relationships in your everyday life, and how to get past that and accept yourself.
What is going on with you? Imagine being stuck in my head all the time with no break, no way out. Get out!
Now, real quick, before I get into like the meat and potatoes of this video and of the movie, I want to talk a little bit about the actors and the characters that they portray. Isabella Merced, or Merced, maybe I'm pronouncing that wrong, plays the main character of Aza Holmes, and she does, for the young actress that she is, an absolutely remarkable job portraying OCD and the difficulties that it has on this. My all-time favorite movie is Silver Linings Playbook, and I have talked immensely about how Bradley Cooper in that portrays bipolar disorder in a very honest and undramatic way. There are dramatic moments, but there's dramatic moments that come with bipolar disorder.
I'm not calming down. I don't give a fuck who are you. I'm not calming down. Anybody can wake up. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not ashamed of it. Let the whole neighborhood wake up. I don't care.
I can talk about it because I have bipolar disorder. But the portrayal of him with bipolar in that movie is very honest and sometimes difficult to watch, as is how it is in life. In this OCD, it is difficult to watch this at times, especially towards the end when she is having one of her worst breakdowns about the bacteria in her system in the hospital, and she eats a bunch of hand sanitizer or soap trying to rid her body, and it nearly kills her, and she has to get her stomach pumped. But the portrayal of that by Isabella Merced is just phenomenal. And then you have Cree portraying her friend Daisy, who is fun and quirky. There's not really a whole lot to say about her, but all of the young actors in this, from Isabella Merced to Cree to Felix Mallard as the love interest, and also John Green finally has an appearance in one of his movies. He's famously said that he is such a terrible actor that they cut him from every single movie that he is in. So kind of cool that he's in here. Now, years ago, if you go digging in my YouTube channel, you will see that I made a video on the Turtles All the Way Down book. And in it, I talk about how I was disappointed in it. And I made a couple decent points in there. But overall, I really disagree with my past self and what I said about the book. At the time in my life, I hadn't grappled with the fact that I had OCD. I wasn't dealing with it in a healthy way. And I was mainly just in denial of the fact. So when I read this book, it was a difficult read for me, and I did not realize why. Present 28-year-old me that has confronted my own mental health and handles it healthily on a daily basis to the best that I can, appreciates this movie and how it unabashedly talks about the struggles of OCD, but portrays them as real people with passions and interests beyond that, and so on and so forth. I think that this movie and the book Turtles All the Way Down are deeply important in our culture today with the negative light that mental health generally has on it. And that's something that not just these books, but John Green and the Vlogbrothers do in whole, which is take something that normally has kind of a stigmatism around it, talking about mental health, and says, no, you cannot have a stigmatism on this thing. It is important to communicate about it. And that's what this movie does. It is important, very deeply important, not just for me, but everybody else out there that has mental health that they are dealing with in their day-to-day life that don't feel like they are properly represented in media today. So this is a wonderful stepping stone towards having that be a more public and accepted thing. One thing that I found incredibly real to life is the representation of the spirals of OCD, of how you get caught in a spiral, in a thought spiral, where you will get something stuck in your head. Everything else in the world will kind of zone out and blur to you. And you will just think about this one thing to death until you land on the worst possible outcome. And it's represented beautifully in the dialogue, but also in a painting that Aza just kind of gets captured in, and that represents her thought spirals. And it is something that I've never seen represented so thoroughly and accurately on screen before, or really ever. It put into words and visuals something that I had only ever been able to understand in the abstract in my mind. In the end of this movie, after Aza has somewhat of a mental breakdown and she is confronting her friend Daisy about how in Daisy's fan fictions, her Star Wars fan fictions that she's been writing since she was a little kid, she has kind of done a self-insert of Aza as this selfish character that doesn't care about her friends and is absorbed by herself. Daisy acknowledges that, yeah, that was kind of messed up, but I didn't think you'd ever read my fan fiction. And when Aza is offended by that, Daisy points out that, yes, she loves Aza, and Aza loves her, but Aza is not a good friend. She is absorbed with herself, and she doesn't necessarily blame her for that because of her OCD, but that doesn't mean that it takes away from the fact that she is not a good friend. She has never gone out on a limb for her. She doesn't even know her middle name, her pets' names, her parents' names, their occupations, none of that. She's never cared about her Star Wars fan fiction, which is the most important thing to Daisy. And while Aza is reckoning with that, she gets into a massive car crash that then puts her into the hospital, and that puts us towards the second mental breakdown she has, where I told you about, where she was eating the hand sanitizer because it was a low point of her OCD. After this, though, we show Aza healing. And another thing that I think that this movie does beautifully is the fact that Aza's healing process takes time and it takes effort. It takes what I can only assume was probably multiple weeks, because you see the physical trauma of the car crash healing while she is trying out new meds, doing things for her mental health, like reading about OCD, talking to her therapist, trying new regimens to get a handle on her OCD, and slowly easing into things that make her uncomfortable. And one of the things that she does in the end is that she goes to a art show with her friend Daisy and surprises her there that is in like a sewer tunnel, something that to her, somebody that was OCD around sicknesses and bacteria, something that would be in the past utterly consuming to her that she could not do. But she gets dressed up in gloves and multiple jackets and covering as much of her skin as possible to be in support of her friend Daisy because she took what Daisy said about her selfishness seriously. And after this is like the end of the movie. And I like the fact that the romance plot is kind of wrapped up quickly and Davis moving away, because at the same time, the mystery plot is wrapped up where they find out that his father killed himself by jumping off of a bridge. So they move away. And it wraps it up so quickly and succinctly because the romance and the mystery are not the focus of this movie. What was important was Aza's mental health and her friendship with Daisy. And that's wrapped up so nicely at the end, where Daisy goes on this speech to Aza about how she will have a fulfilling life. She will have a family. She will have a career. She will have a place to call home. And she will have a happy life, but that does not take away from the fact that she will have difficulties that she will have to overcome for the rest of her life. But that's okay, because she is surrounded by people that care for her and will always care for her, and she will do what she has to have that happy life despite her mental health problems. And it is just a beautiful and perfect way to wrap up this deeply important movie and honestly amazing adaptation of a book that I looked too harshly on in the past that I now realize is also phenomenal. But I would love to hear your thoughts on this, so make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and check out my other videos.